The band party marched past, playing a loud rhythmic tune. Along with the palanquin, the wedding guests also crossed the street. At the corner tea stall, Bishu sat sipping his tea. Ramu Kaka asked the shopkeeper, "Which house is that wedding procession heading to?" "Sen's younger son has brought home a new bride, Kaka," the shopkeeper replied. Hearing the words, "new bride," Ramu Kaka's expression turned somber. "What happened, Kaka? Why did you suddenly become so sad?" Bishu asked, noticing the shift. It just reminded me of the story of another new bride." Ramu Kaka sighed. "Another one? What do you mean?" "Yes, it's a story. A terrifying story. A terrifying story. Tell me properly, Kaka," Bishu said, leaning in. The storm in the new home Ramu Kaka took a deep breath and began. To the west of the village, next to that ruined single-story house, there used to be a small hut with a tin roof. Madhav and his mother lived there. At his mother's insistence, Madhav married an 18-year-old girl. Once the new bride took over the household chores, Madhav's mother breathed a sigh of relief. Her aging body could no longer handle the hard labor. But calamity struck on an evening in the month of Baishak. A ferocious storm blew away their tin roof. When the rain stopped, Madhav realized they were homeless. Seeing no other option, they moved into the adjacent single-story house. That house belonged to Vinod Rai. Madhav's father had once been the priest for that family. When Vinod left the village for the city, he handed the keys to Madhav. Initially, Vinod would visit once or twice a year. But then, a terrible event occurred when Vinod's younger son visited the village with his own new bride. Ramu Kaka paused, staring into vacancy. Bishu set his tea glass down, trying to ease the tension with a light smile. "What happened, Kaka? Why did you stop?" Ramu Kaka shook his head as if talking to himself, then resumed. "Yes, as I was saying, Madhav settled into Vinod's house with his mother and wife. The new bride would walk around the house all day, the jingling of her anklets echoing through the halls as she managed the chores. But just 2 days later, the horror began. The black smoke that afternoon. The new bride had just taken a bath, put on a vibrant red saree, and stood in front of the wall mirror to comb her hair. Suddenly, she heard a strange, scratching sound, catch catch, echoing from the corners of the room. She spun around, her entire body freezing with terror. She tried to scream, but her voice choked. A swirling mass of black smoke materialized, surrounding her. Her body trembled violently. "No!" she gasped, before collapsing cold and unconscious onto the floor. 2 days passed. One evening, Madhav was sitting on the veranda, feeling somewhat content, though his bride had been acting strange and detached ever since her fainting spell. Madhav wondered if she was expecting a child, as weakness was common then. However, when Bhuvan Vaidya, the local doctor, examined her, he ruled it out. Suddenly, the new bride came running out like a madwoman, her eyes wide with panic. "Do you hear that whisper?" she shrieked. "Look there! She is standing in the dark. She is watching us." "Who is watching us? Let's go look inside," Madhav said, dragging her back into the room. There was nothing unusual in the room. His mother looked grave, thought for a moment, and put the bride to bed. Once she fell asleep, Madhav stepped out. His mother was lying outside quietly. Madhav asked softly, "Mother, do you hear any strange noises in this house?" "No, son. Why do you ask?" The new bride says she hears an eerie scratching sound and feels a freezing presence. "I searched the whole house and found nothing." His mother sat up, looked around to ensure they were alone, and whispered, "I think your bride has been possessed by a dark, unseen energy." "Why do you say that, Mother?" "Yesterday evening, when I woke up, I heard her whispering and laughing with someone in the dark. Sometimes she seemed to be arguing fiercely. I thought you had returned, but a few minutes later, you called out from the front door, and I realized it wasn't you. Take my advice. Don't call a doctor. Call an Ojha, an exorcist. Madhav's heart began to hammer against his ribs. He had never suspected his wife, but he knew his mother wouldn't lie. He stood up, restless. Don't think too much, his mother urged. Go fetch the Ojha. His prayers will drive this evil away. Madhav nodded silently and left, torn between who to believe, his mother or his wife. Meanwhile, neither of them noticed a dark shadow lurking in the gathering dusk, its eyes glowing like burning embers. Filled with absolute rage, the curse. Unleashed, Madhav ran to the Ojha's house. By the time he returned, night had fallen. As he entered the courtyard, his heart sank. The entire house was plunged into pitch darkness and shrouded in an eerie, unnatural silence. Is my wife still unwell? What is mother doing? Madhav thought, stepping forward with trembling legs. Are you listening? Where are you? Mother, mother! There was no reply. He entered the house, his heart racing. The bed was empty. His bride was not there. He called out louder, but a heavy, echoing groan came from the adjacent room. Madhav rushed inside. In the dim light, he froze. A dark, shadowy figure stood there, its eyes glowing like fire. In a deep, booming voice, it said, "You want to drive me away? Me?" For the first time, Madhav heard the terrifying ketch-ketch sound coming from above. Involuntarily, his eyes moved toward the ceiling rafters. What he saw made him shake with absolute horror. Lying on the floor beneath the rafters was the completely frozen, lifeless body of his mother. Her face was twisted in absolute shock, as if she had seen something deeply terrifying right before her soul left her body. Looking down at the corpse, the new bride was muttering to herself in a trance. "You cannot throw me out of this house." The bride hissed, her voice sounding dual and demonic. "You monster! What have you done to mother?" Madhav screamed, striking his wife across the face to snap her out of it. The bride's body hit the floor, and instantly, a swirling cloud of black smoke emerged from her, vanishing into the darkness. The bride collapsed into a deep sleep, while Madhav rushed to his mother's cold body, weeping hysterically. A week passed. The new bride remained in a state of deep shock, completely silent. She was under treatment, but showed no signs of recovery. Madhav told no one the true paranormal nature of his mother's passing, not even his close neighbor, Rama Dada. He felt overwhelmed and confused. He assumed the entity had taken control of his wife's mind. But why? Was it just a random curse, or was there a dark history behind it? Anxious and burdened, Madhav went out to prepare for his mother's upcoming funeral rituals. When he returned home later that week, his blood ran cold. From inside the house, he heard that same ketch-ketch scratching sound echoing through the walls. Fear gripping his soul, he burst into the room and turned to stone. There, in the middle of the room, the new bride lay completely still and breathless, her skin pale and ice cold, suffering the exact same mysterious fate as his mother. Madhav tried to scream, but a sharp hiss sound cut through the air. He turned around. A shadowy figure of a woman materialized in the dim light. The freezing, vengeful voice echoed through the room. "I was wronged in this house. I wanted to live. My life was snatched away in the dark, and my truth was buried. I will bring the same darkness to anyone who dares to live here. Anyone who enters this house will face my wrath." The entity extended its shadow toward Madhav. A manic supernatural laughter filled the air. None shall survive. In that final moment of clarity, Madhav realized who the spirit was. It was the ghost of Vinod Rai's younger son's wife, the one who had mysteriously disappeared years ago. The wealthy family had buried the truth and left the village, but her vengeful soul remained, demanding a blood debt from anyone occupying her space. Madhav's vision blurred under the immense weight of fear, and he collapsed unconscious onto the floor, The twist Ramu Kaka fell silent again. Bishu, unable to contain his curiosity, asked, "What happened after that, Kaka?" "What could be done?" Ramu Kaka murmured. In the end, Madhav lost his mind to fear. He would only repeat one thing to Rama Dada: "Take me away from this house. She is waiting in the dark." Soon after, Madhav passed away under mysterious circumstances. The house has been abandoned ever since, completely locked up. After a moment of heavy silence, Ramu Kaka stood up and walked away from the tea stall. As Bishu prepared to leave, the shopkeeper, Ratan, leaned over and spoke in a rough whisper. "Don't believe everything old Ramu tells you, brother. I heard that property is up for sale at a very cheap price. Ramu Kaka just spreads these rumors so nobody buys it. His family wants to claim that land. Whatever it is, don't tell him I said this. You both are my permanent customers. After all." Bishu nodded thoughtfully and walked away. His mind was at war. Who was telling the truth? Ramu Kaka's ghost story or Ratan's practical theory? Lost in thought, he didn't realize he had taken a turn and walked right up to the front of the old, abandoned house. After a moment of hesitation, curiosity got the better of him, and he stepped through the broken gates to look around. Smiling at his own foolishness, Bishu muttered, "There's absolutely nothing here. Ramu Kaka just watches too many dramas." Suddenly, Bishu froze. Through the silent, dusty air of the courtyard, the distinct, unmistakable jingling of anklets, Gungru, echoed. As his eyes adjusted to the deep shadows of the ruined veranda, he saw her, a pale figure in a bright red wedding saree, slowly gliding through the darkness, turning her head right toward him.